All right, welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're an educator, I don't need to tell you that our classrooms are more wonderfully diverse than ever before. We have this amazing wealth of cultures, perspectives, and languages right in front of us. It's a truly beautiful thing. But, and it's a big but, it also begs a pretty critical question. How do we actually make sure that every single student, especially a newly arrived newcomer, is thriving from day one? Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. Just imagine for a second, how exactly do you learn when you literally don't speak the language? Think about the pure sensory overload of a newcomer's very first day. You've got a teacher talking a mile a minute about classroom rules and timetables, bells are ringing, and there are totally unfamiliar faces everywhere. For a student who doesn't speak the school's language, that's not just confusing, it is incredibly isolating. At that moment, their immediate need isn't mastering vocabulary or grammar, right? It's just figuring out how to feel safe, grounded, and welcomed in what feels like a completely alien environment. To put a face to this, let's look at Ahmed. He's an 11-year-old newcomer. Now, Ahmed watches his classmates silently. He manages to complete tasks by kind of just copying what the kid next to him is doing, but he rarely speaks. And this, right here, perfectly illustrates what researchers call marginalization through monolingual norms, which is really just a fancy way of describing the incredibly damaging idea that only the dominant language counts for learning. Sure, Ahmed is physically in the room, but presence definitely does not equal participation. If we restrict everything to a language he doesn't know yet, we're basically silencing him. We make him invisible before he even gets a chance to show us what he's capable of. So, how do we fix this? Well, we actually have to totally shift our theoretical approach. Enter the iceberg model, originally proposed by researcher Jim Cummins. Now, this theory is a total game changer. It completely shatters that old, outdated assumption that using a home language somehow slows down learning the new school language. For the longest time, people basically thought of languages as, separate containers in the brain. But the iceberg model illustrates how a learner's different languages actually function as deeply integrated resources. They aren't isolated at all. They literally share underlying cognition. Now, what's really fascinating is what happens beneath a surface. All those concepts, experiences, and prior knowledge, they act as this massive shared cognitive pool. The surface languages, let's say Arabic and English, they might look totally different peeking out above the waves, right? Different alphabets, different sounds, different grammar. But underwater, their roots are completely tangled together. So what does this mean? It means if Ahmed already understands a complex scientific concept, like, say, photosynthesis in Arabic, he doesn't have to relearn the whole shebang from scratch in English. He literally just needs the new label for it. Letting students process new information in their home language actually supercharges their access to the curriculum. It doesn't delay it at all. So how do we put this into action? We use a framework called pedagogical translanguaging. It basically breaks down into 3 very actionable steps to activate multiple languages. First up is stance. This is the core belief that all linguistic identities are valuable resources. They aren't obstacles or problems to fix. Second is design. This means intentionally planning inclusive spaces, maybe strategically pairing students who share background so they can support each other. And third, shifts. This is about being flexible enough to embrace those spontaneous, creative linguistic exchanges in the moment. Actually, it might just look like letting a student explain a tough math problem to a friend in their home language, simply because it's the absolute fastest way for them to grasp it. And this brilliantly illustrates a core philosophical difference we really need to embrace: the deficit perspective versus the resource perspective. A deficit perspective looks at a student and zeroes in entirely on what they lack. It totally ignores their rich background and treats them like a blank slate, or honestly, a broken bucket that needs fixing. But a resource perspective? Oh, that completely empowers the student. It treats their home languages, their family history, and their experiences as funds of knowledge. These are absolutely vital, powerful educational assets that we can and should actively draw upon to make learning stick and build genuine confidence. So what does this actually look like on Monday morning in your classroom? It's all about intentionally building bridges. Think about putting up multilingual welcome posters or world language maps. Students immediately see themselves represented. Picture having their names written in their home scripts right there on their desks, or building multilingual word walls for complex topics. You could even weave family language stories into your assignments. I mean, imagine being Ahmed and walking into a room where your language isn't just allowed. It's actually a visible, celebrated part of the environment. Those tiny, intentional design shifts bridge that huge, daunting gap and make a newcomer finally feel safe, seen, and ready to learn. Which brings us to a really important final question for you. What do your classroom walls say to a newcomer right now? And how will you transform them tomorrow? You see, linguistic inclusion is about so much more than what goes on the whiteboard. It's the environment you design, the bridges you build, and the inclusive stance you take every single day. I really challenge you to take immediate action on this. Pick just one strategy we've explored today and apply it in your own space to help unlock a truly multilingual classroom. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.